Okay, good evening. It is 6 p.m., November the 16th, 2015. It is time to call this San Felipe del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Board of Trustees regular meeting to order. Ms. Haynes, will you please call roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chavita?
Here.
Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Oberfeld?
Present.
Mr. Garabedian?
Here.
Ms. Lozano?
Present.
And myself.
Ms. Haynes, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Let the record show that a quorum of the board members are present, that this meeting has been duly called, and notice that this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, before we stand for opening ceremonies, if we could have a moment of silence for all those affected by the tragedy in France.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we open the meeting today. We definitely give a special welcome to our guests. There are many special guests in the audience today. Thank you for joining us, our staff and administrators. We will go on with recognitions. We'll begin with recognition of the Del Rio Middle School Choir, Mr. Juan Nanez. You're not in the middle school.
High school and middle school together.
Mr. Lozano, Dr. Rios, members of the board. I'm here this evening to recognize the accomplishments of the choir, jazz band, and the Mighty Ram Band. First, I would like to recognize from the Del Rio Middle School Choir, who placed in the one student that placed in the TME region choir. So I'll have Mr. Gonzalez come forward and introduce the students as well.
Good evening. We went ahead and also brought the high school students up here. I have Christian Montoya, who made 9th chair, and he's my only middle school student who made the region choir this year. So we're very proud of him. Since we haven't been to this competition in 3 years, we went back this year, and he went ahead and took 9th chair, so we're really proud of him. This year also, we went ahead and took the high school to compete for the TMA region high school level. And this year we have a total of 9 participants. We've had 5 at the most, and this year we almost doubled it. So we have Miranda Martinez. She got 4th chair, and she's a participant for pre-area. Then we have Jordan Shell, who's also a participant for pre-area. Then Carlos Rodarte, who's also a participant for pre-area. So they're all moving to the next round. Then we have Samuel Ledesma. And then we also have Roxanne Mejia, and then we also have Stephanie Reyes. So they worked really, really hard, and I'm really, really proud. Thank you.
So again, I'd like to congratulate all the students for all the hard work and also representing our Del Rio High School and middle school at all this level of competition. We're going to take a quick picture, and I'll have the next group coming in.
Good job.
Good job. And a boy to boot.
Congratulations, ma'am. Congratulations. Good job. Good job. Congratulations, man. Good job.
Our next students are also to be recognized, the Del Rio High School Jazz Band students that competed and placed in the All-Region Jazz that was held back in September. Mr. White will introduce the students.
Good evening, board members and distinguished guests. This year at the Region Jazz, we had the competition tryouts back in September, I believe 19th, and we had two students place. We had Alan Mendoza. He placed sixth chair and was in the second region band, and then we had Christian Torres, who placed in the first jazz band, and he was able to do what we call record, where he sends a recording of himself playing the music to the educators in the state level. And we just got those results back last week, and he made, out of 43 drummers in the entire state of Texas, he was number 7. So Del Rio was in the top 10. The only bad thing is they only took the top 4 for the 2 groups that are going to be playing at our conference in February. But the good news for him next year is all the people in front of him were seniors, so hopefully they're out of the way. He was the first underclassman and in the top 10. So congratulations to both of these guys.
Also recognize the Del Rio High School Mighty Ram Band for receiving straight first division ratings from all the judges at the University Interscholastic League marching competition held on October 17th in San Antonio. Mr. Rios to do the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Nice. And yes, we were very, very pleased that this year, hopefully you all enjoyed the halftime performances as well. But we did really well this marching competition. One of the contests, actually, this trophy over here, we received a 3rd place at the Drums Along the Medina, which we hadn't done in many years. And so it was nice to actually place and come back with a trophy. So that was, again, a 3rd place at Drums Along the Medina. And then as Mr. Nine just mentioned, we have the first divisions. We hadn't received first divisions in about 6 years. And so this year we did get all first divisions from the judges. And as a matter of fact, I had our UIL executive secretary, I talked to him at a contest that we had this weekend. He was very pleased in how the band had performed at the UIL competition and how the band's up and coming. And so that's I want to thank the students. We have some of our leaders here representing the Mighty Ram Band because we don't want to bring everybody. And so it's a great accomplishment. We're already getting ready for next year as well. We're already planning what we're going to do with show, and we've got a lot of things, so hopefully we'll have an even more successful year for next year. Also, I want to be thanking as well Coach Smith, Coach McCrae, because it allowed us to be able to work on the use of the stadium. And it's great when we have good communication and we're able to work different things out as, okay, Coach, when you're getting off the field, okay, and then also want to thank for the opportunity to be able to turn the lights on so the band could rehearse, as well as having the backboard, so the basketball courts where we practice at, which is our practice field, to be able to remove those so that I can see more of the band kids instead of like, who's behind this area here. So I want to thank administration for helping us with the lights and with getting those things removed, as well as the athletic department for being able to coordinate all the different things that we could do. I want to thank all the directors, Mr. White, Mr. Morales, and all the middle school directors as well for all their work and coming over and helping out as well. And also have 2 students that are going to be repeating. Last year we had two of our band students go to and participate in the Macy's Parade. And we have 2 students that are going to be going back again this year to represent Del Rio. This is through an audition process. And so I guess it's something we hope that they can continue to do. But we have this year Kaylee Herzog holding the trophy over here, playing flute. She will be in the Macy's Parade, as well as Alanis San Miguel that will also be representing us in the marching band. Oh, you audition in tenor sax? Well, it's because Kaylee plays tenor sax. She plays everything. And so I hadn't realized you audition on tenor sax. Well, look at that. So she should have competition on, she plays piccolo too and lots of different things. So, but we want to congratulate all the students and Mr. Nines also for the support, Dr. ZB, and everybody in general for making this a great season thus far. Thank you.
Once again, we congratulate all the students and thank you all for your continuous support of the Fine Arts program. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Good job. Thank you for your support, Doctor. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. 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 Thank you. Good job. Good job.
Chairman, can I say something real quick?
Absolutely, sir.
Mr. Pacheco. Mr. Pacheco, I just want to recognize you and congratulate you for the all the volunteering that you do for our band. We go to Austin, you there, meetings and whatnot. We really thank you. I just want to recognize you at this time.
I want to thank the school district for giving parents this wonderful opportunity. It really is. I tell every parent that I see, it's cheap babysitting. You get to be around your child. You get to see what your child does, and the 4 years will fly by. So I want to thank Dr. Z, who's back there, Superintendent Rios for supporting us, and we just love it. We do. We really, really do, and I'm so proud of our kids and of this school district. I don't know if anybody saw, we had a student from Del Rio whose face is on a banner at St. Mary's School. And I think that's just outstanding. So thank you for recognizing me. My wife did tell me to tuck in my shirt. I told her I didn't have to. So, I appreciate it.
No wonder. They're only showing you waist up.
But thank you. Thank you so much. It really means a lot to us. And if you think the kids don't get a boost from the community recognizing them, I will tell you, it really makes a difference to them. So thank you, board, for being so supportive and being so patient. And we'll continue this Saturday. Del Rio moves on. I hope to see you all there. We will be there. So once again, thanks. And to every educator that's in here, we love you. There's nothing more important than entrusting our kids day in and day out. We dump them in the morning, and then we pick them up in the afternoon, hoping they're a little bit better. And guess what? They are. So to all of you, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Okay, recognition of the Del Rio High School Boys and Girls Cross Country Team. Coach Smith.
Gosh, I got to follow that. President Lozano, school board members, Dr. Rios, very proud to introduce our head cross country coach, Miss Vicky Perez. She's finally able to sleep after 15 weeks of competition and practices. She's done an outstanding job carrying on our cross-country tradition. I'd like to introduce our girls team. Stand right away. are the district champions. They are the region's silver medalists, which means they were second in the region out of 24 teams, and they are our state qualifiers. For our program, it's the 11th consecutive year that we have had a state qualifying team, and they upheld the tradition. We have the individual district champion, Megan Beneke. We have a 4-time state qualifier in Diamond Gonzalez in this group. We have our 1 male state qualifier and our assistant coach, Claudia Juarez. Max Smith was the individual district champion on the boys' side and set a new course record. He broke the record of Cesar Marino from 2 years ago. He's just a sophomore, and this is the second time that he's run at state. I'll let Coach Perez give you a little more information.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say that these kids have worked extremely hard. I'm very, very proud of them. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the seniors. I have Diamond Gonzalez, and then I have Brianna Guajardo. I have Olivia Flores. I'll move on to my juniors, Leslie Torres, Megan Beneke, Maribel Lopez. My sophomores, Ana E. Romo, Lorena Salazar. My freshman, Isabel Gonzalez, and then my sophomore, Max Smith. So I just want to say that these kids have worked hard and it paid off, and I just want to congratulate them, and I want to thank you all for all your support. Thank you.
Which one?
And Coach Perez proves that we're all replaceable.
Great job. Definitely are so proud of all of our students' accomplishments. I can say from the band perspective, in my days, along with Mr. Juan Nanez, we would have never even dreamt of coming close to one. So congratulations. Okay, public hearings. Just one moment. The Board of Trustees, oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not what I meant. We don't have any public hearings today. Were you going to? Board members report, we don't have any.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
at this time, if the board is agreeable, there are several things that I'd like to move from the agenda up to right before number 7 there, because we do have a large group there, and some of these individuals, we'd like to take care of their stuff, and so they don't have to sit here all evening. I would like to, in the following order, move public comments up, followed by 10E, consideration of dedication of Annex 1. 10F, consideration of new CTE building. 18A, superintendent's report. A, salary adjustments for hourly waged employees, and then 10A, consideration to appoint or call a special election or fill a vacancy on the board. In that order.
Okay. Is that okay with the board?
I concur with Mr. Overfeld. We should move them up.
All in agreement? All right. All right, then we will move forward in that order. I believe you said public comments would go first?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The Board of Trustees encourages comments from the citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak either as an individual or as a representative of a group may do so at this time. We do have several folks who did sign up. The Board of Trustees asks that the comments pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 5 minutes. Please remember that the Board of Trustees may not discuss or act upon issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the Board of Trustees will defer discussion until the appropriate time during the meeting. Complaints by students or their parents may be heard in accordance with policies FNG Legal and Local. For employees, complaints are heard in accordance with policies DGBA Legal and Local. All should follow the chain of command, and if a resolution cannot be achieved administratively, the person may appeal the administrative decision to the Board of Trustees as a properly posted agenda item. And I will call the people up in the order that I received the sign-up sheets. First person is Juana Beatriz Arispe.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Juana Beatriz Arispe, soy trabajadora de las cafeterías y líder de la organización fronteriza.
I'm just here to translate. My name is Sandra Fuentes, co-chair of the board organization leader with the board organization Sacred Heart Parish.
Estimados miembros de la mesa directiva, estamos aquí animándolos a que voten a favor del aumento de nuestro salario a $10, el equivalente que es lo que ganan los trabajadores de Icle Paz. Que valoren nuestro trabajo y que nos valoren a nosotros como parte del sistema del distrito al que pertenecemos. Que no nos traten como trabajadores de quinta. Que se vea el esfuerzo que día con día hacemos para que los niños y los adultos que tenemos en cada una de nuestras escuelas tengan un plato caliente, ya sea en el almuerzo, en la comida. Cada uno de mis compañeros y compañeras aquí presentes nos esforzamos todos los días para que estos niños coman. Somos parte de este distrito y nos queremos sentir parte de él. Somos parte importante del desarrollo de cada uno de esos niños que todos los días pasan sobre la línea y nos saludan. Nos hacen sentir importantes. Ahí nos sentimos importantes y sabemos que nuestro trabajo ahí con ellos está excelente. Mas no así con ustedes. Queremos ser parte de los planteles, cada una de los que estamos aquí presentes, de cada plantel que pertenecemos, que se nos acoja, que se nos vea como miembros unidos de un distrito que es el que pertenecemos, que somos importantes, así como lo es el que está arriba, como las que estamos abajo. Todos somos importantes aquí en este distrito. Pienso que nos merecemos lo que estamos pidiendo. Es la primera vez que vengo yo aquí a hablar ante ustedes. Tengo 13 años trabajando para el distrito. y tengo los mismos años que me siento como que no soy valorada. Me gusta mi trabajo y cada una de las compañeras que está aquí presente les gusta porque hay compañeras que tienen más de 20 años trabajando para el distrito. Lo único que pedimos es algo justo. No estamos pidiendo más. No queremos que nos paguen millones. Queremos nomás lo que es justo, lo que vemos a nuestro, cerquita de nosotros, 45 minutos. Mejor salario. Igualdad. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a usted. What Mrs. Arispe stated was that she wants and her colleagues want to be valued and to be seen as an integral part of children's education in this school district. However, they do not feel like they're valued. It shows on their pay. She states that the children that they serve in the cafeterias do value them. They're very grateful for the work that they do, but they unfortunately do not feel that the school districts value their work. She stated that they would like to be compensated the way the cafeteria workers are compensated in Eagle Pass. Same pay. She doesn't believe that they're asking for something that is outrageous. She believes that this request is very just. Thank you.
Next is Ms. Marcela Gonzalez.
No iba a entrar bailando, ¿eh? Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Marcela González, trabajo para este distrito en la cafetería de Del Rio Middle School y soy líder de la organización fronteriza. Dr. Ríos, superintendente y mesa directiva. Esta tarde estoy aquí para animarlos a que voten a favor del aumento de nuestros salarios. Nuestro sentir como trabajadoras para este distrito es que ustedes no valoran nuestro arduo trabajo y desempeño en cada cafetería. Cuando ustedes hacen decisiones de comprar muebles por $200,000 para un edificio nuevo, nos hace ver a nosotras que acaso nuestro trabajo y nuestro esfuerzo no vale. No tenemos mayor valor ante sus ojos como trabajadoras. El valor que le dan a una camioneta llena de muebles nuevos para un edificio nuevo, para una oficina. Quiero contarles un poco de historias de mujeres que están aquí, sentadas. Una de ellas tiene 27 años trabajando para el distrito escolar. Acaba de firmar un contrato para este nuevo ciclo escolar, ganando $13.25 la hora. Repito, 27 años de servicio para este distrito escolar y ella está ganando $13.25 la hora. Y así tengo muchas otras historias de compañeras sirviendo por este distrito. Salarios muy por debajo a otros distritos escolares. Y estamos hablando de Eagle Pass y de Uvalde. Nuestro deseo es que ustedes voten, que den un voto justo a favor de nosotras. También queremos exhortarles a que voten a favor del pago de año redondo. Quiere decir que en lugar de que nos paguen 10 meses por año, nos paguen 12 meses por año. Les exhorto a que también piensen en esto. Esperamos a cada miembro, ¿verdad?, que cumplan con lo que platicamos, con lo que se comprometieron en nuestras juntas anteriores. Muchas gracias por su tiempo.
Gracias. Mrs. Gonzalez stated, reiterated what Mrs. Beatriz said, Arispe said, and that is that she also feels that the school district does not value their work. Case in point, she went on to tell stories about some of her colleagues, one in particular that has worked for 27 years, and after 27 years, she is now earning $13 and change per hour. She repeated that again because it's as astounding as it sounds. They're asking, really questioning whether this school district does value their work. When a school district opts to spend $200,000 on office furniture for a new building and do not increase hourly wage earners such as the cafeteria, that says something is wrong with our way of thinking and what we value in this school district. Show me your budget, and I'll let you know what you value. So she encourages the board to vote on behalf of increasing the hourly wage for them to match that of Eagle Pass. She reminds the board that they have met with each one of you individually. There have been commitments made, and fully expect that those commitments are kept. She thanks you very much for your time.
Next, we have Roberto Zaragoza Jr.
Good evening, school board members, Dr. Rios. My name is Roberto Zaragoza Jr., and I'm here representing the Del Rio Police Officers Association, and I'm a leader with the border organization. The board organization is present tonight to support the vote taken last month to have an election decide who we want to replace Dr. Keith's seat. We live in a democracy, and as such, the citizens should have a voice as to who they want representing them. We encourage the board to do the right thing and call for an election for our next school board member. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Mark A. Guerra.
Good evening, President Lozano, members of the school board, Dr. Rios. My name is Mark Anthony Guerra. I'm the president of the Del Rio Police Officers Association, regional executive director of the Combined Law Enforcement Association of Texas, a member of the St. Joseph Parish, and a member of the board organization. I'm here to voice our interest and our support for our cafeteria ladies to see an increase in their salary and their wages as they take care of our children, as they nourish our children, as their labors are greatly appreciated. We, the men and women of the Del Rio Police Officers Association, bestow this part on our behalf that you please support this movement. And we also support and encourage that they see salary 12 months throughout the year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to 10E. Right, that was the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
Consideration of dedication of the Annex 1 Administration Building, Mr. Bob Chavilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Overfeld, for making this move. The first one, which is the consideration of dedication to the Annex 1 Administration Building, I would like to, instead of me doing it, like to call Mr. Stidham to come up here and tell us about his recommendation. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Bob. Mr. President, CC, each school board member, Dr. Rios, administrators and support staff, I want to thank each of you for the opportunity to come before you. I come ever so humble, and I want to thank you for your dedicated service to our community, and not just our community, but especially to our children. precious gift that's ours. And I thank you for your guidance, your support, your love, the curriculum, and the safe environment that they get to study in. And now I come to the point why I'm standing before you. Of course, it's no secret Raymond Haynes was a dear friend of mine for many years. And I know he served our district, and he served it well for 21 years. He was the first police chief that this district had. And I don't know what your definition of a friend is, but mine is one that walks in when everybody else walks out. Or you might just say Raymond Haynes. But he was that kind of guy. And I know he prayed over this district. I prayed with him on almost a weekly basis. I would go up and meet with him. And we would talk about the concerns that were his. But I come before you asking you that you would consider naming Annex 1 the Raymond Haynes Administration Annex. And I would pray that y'all would consider that. And God bless each of you, and thank you for the time that you've given me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to discuss amongst the members before I make any motion or anything like that? If the board
If
has.
anybody wants to say anything, I'd appreciate that very much, and then we'll make the motion.
Mr. Mesa?
If I may, I have full respect for these individuals that are being honored tonight. I just want to reiterate what Mr. Garabedian said at our last meeting. There's got to be a procedure in place, and I would prefer that we have a committee of individuals, which we already have a planning and decision-making committee at the district-wide, that would take that into consideration for any naming of any facility, because I know that we did that last month, and we don't want to compete as board members to see how many can name more facilities than anybody else, but I want it done proper, because again, it's the respect that we have for these individuals that have worked a number of years. I've been on this board for a total of 8 years, running on 9 years, and I was in place here when Marion Russell Middle School was dedicated, again, in her honor, and then it was taken away several years later, and so we didn't have a committee in place that would look at this and say, hey, you know, that honor was already bestowed to an individual that was a great individual, worked over 40 years for the district. And that school was renamed to North Heights. It used to be Marion Russell Middle School. And so that was taken away. And so for that reason, I say we needed to have a committee that will review this information and then go forward with the decision that is made. That's my understanding on this, that I'd like to have a committee make that decision. I full honor Raymond Haynes was a true friend of mine and a great individual, with all respect. That was.
Mr. Mesa, you mentioned a committee that might already be in place?
We have a planning and decision-making committee district-wide. It's made up of administrators, teachers, parents.
In response to Mr. Mesa and all that, I fully understand that there with the committee, and because I know it was brought up last month there as well by Mr. Garabedian, and I have submitted a rough draft to the committee, or the policy review committee there, that hopefully will go through the process and eventually be adopted by this board, that would deal with everything from naming of elementaries, middle schools, high schools, special use buildings, all of that there. So I understand the need for that, and I've drafted policy, and hopefully this board it'll come before us and we can act on it there. On the other side of that, as has already been mentioned by Mr. Sidham, what is a friend, and simple word of Raymond Haynes in the days following his untimely passing there was a picture that came out in the paper, an editorial cartoon. There had a tree and had children asking, what is a legacy there? And a legacy is, something that you're always going to be remembered by. For years and years, I had this massive oak tree with Raymond's, Chief Haynes' name in it there. And I agree, and I stand with Mr. Stidham there on wanting to honor that man who, for 21 years, went in and helped protect our district and oversaw it, and their first police chief of the school district, police force there. So, I don't know what else to say about the individual because so much has been said in the past year and all that. So, I support it.
Of course, I think if you look around our country today and what's overcoming our schools and our colleges, we're blessed here in Del Rio to have had someone like Mr. Haynes. I think we had no major incidents under his watch, and I think he's a worthy individual. And I understand Mr. Mess is a very good friend of mine, and I love him. And I hear where you're coming from, but I stand with my suggestion that you consider it.
Thanks, sir.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Chavira?
I feel the same way. I think that if a committee was to be established, the same two persons will be nominated. And since we don't have a committee, we don't wait. When the committee comes up or whatever other suggestions are made, we'll react at that time accordingly. But I feel like I've been on the board 5-6 years, and I've never heard of a committee. I have never heard of a committee naming people anywhere in the state of Texas. And there is one, we'll let them take the lead and we'll borrow the information from them. But at this time, I feel like we should go with these recommendations.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I fully support the naming of the building for Chief Raymond Haynes. I do hear the concerns about a process in place. I think maybe an easy fix would be to go ahead with the naming of the buildings with the guarantee that we will have a process in the near future before we name other buildings. I think that's the reasonable compromise.
That's a great suggestion, Mr. Garabedian, and you're right. I think it's both of the people that we're discussing tonight, Mr. Maldonado and, of course, Chief Haynes, are definitely worthy of having a building and then some after them for their contributions to the school district. I do, though, would hate in the future to be in the same predicament without a process in place. We surely don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to miss an opportunity of naming a building after someone who maybe added more value. But in this situation, I don't see how we could find anyone that would be more deserving in Chief Haynes and Mr. Maldonado. So if we could maybe agree to make sure that we follow up with that committee to add that as something that they will be tasked to do, or if the board so chooses, set up a process in which we do have a committee made up of public community members and people who've been part of the district to really know who has added value, who has really deserved having a building named after them. I think that's a great suggestion. Thank you, Mr. Garabedian, for making that.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
I have no question that the committee would name these two individuals. I just want to make sure that we have something in place because, again, sometimes, we're here as a board, 6 of us, and next year it could be 3 different people and then take that honor away. So we want for that honor to stay forever and ever. And that's basically the reason for my bringing up the committee, because it was taken away from an individual.
Yes,
But we don't want that to happen.
absolutely not.
Madam President, perhaps, since I have submitted that rough draft of that would become policy, perhaps, even though it's not an agenda item there, kind of unofficially, Dr. Rios, if we could get with Ms. Sandra Hernandez to try and push that for the next meeting,
She already has this.
so we can start moving it along and go through the first and second readings.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And I think the board would be happy with how it's spelled out and all of that there, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Madam Chairman, do we continue and read or shall we vote on E and then go to?
Why don't we go on ahead and vote on E? I know we kind of spoke to both agenda items, but
Okay.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, Mayor?
Yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
I'm sorry. At this time, a motion to rename Annex 1 Raymond Haynes Administrative Complex and direct the administration to take the appropriate steps to do so and hold a dedication ceremony within a timely manner.
I second the motion.
all right, we've heard the recommendation and the second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And abstain? Motion carries. And again, Mrs. Haynes and Amy Haynes, we thank you for your husband's, your dad's service. And we are honored to have had the privilege to actually name the building after him. Would you care to say a few words? Don't want to put you on the spot, but I already have.
I will say,
You want to come up to so we can hear you?
to the school board members and Dr. Rios and to Mr. and Mrs. Stidham. I knew Raymond and Bert were very good friends, but after he passed, I found out just how really close they were. And he supported our family greatly. And so has the school district. So I would like to say publicly how much I appreciate Dr. Rios and this entire school district for the support that they showed our family. I mean, this was just overwhelming. My family thought Raymond was famous because we got so much support from this community and from this school district. So I just want all of you to know how much we appreciate that. What a blessing it is to have him work for people that loved him so much. And sometimes, I mean, they knew things about him that we didn't know, and we've learned some things. And I just thank God for that, and I thank God for you all for supporting us. And this school district is still supporting this family, and I want to thank you for that. I've had school board members to come to my house and talk to me, and I appreciate that. And I want you all to know that we do appreciate it. We do thank you, and I don't know if this is the opportunity that we'll get to say it publicly to let you know how much we appreciate you. I know we said to the individuals, but I want this whole school district and city to know how much we appreciate your support of this family. And we loved Raymond so much, and we know that you all did too, and we appreciate that. And I just thank God for you, and thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you. All right, I'll move on to 10F, consideration of dedication of the new CTE Center. Again, Mr. Chavita.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And this next individual, I've known him for many years. As a matter of fact, since we were freshmen when I was a freshman in high school, Gerald was a junior, I think it was, and I got to know him real well. But I have a prepared statement here, so I'll just go ahead and read it. It is a great honor that I submit this letter in favor of an individual that warrants the public acknowledgement. Gerald Gerardo G. Gerald Maldonado was a former educator in the Del Rio Public School System. For many, Mr. Maldonado served as a teacher, a mentor, and a pioneer for careers in technical education during the time when the Del Rio community was younger and looking towards a successful economic future. While Mr. Maldonado began his educational career with the Del Rio District teaching fourth grade at Garfield Elementary, he later transferred to Del Rio High School, where he taught industrial art for 7 years at the Del Rio High School. In 1969, Mr. Maldonado coordinated the Cooperative Vocational Academic Educational Program in Del Rio High School, and in 1974, he went on to earn a master's degree in vocational education from East Texas State University, and by 1978, was later named vocational administrator for the district. Over this tenure, Mr. Maldonado successfully led improvements in Del Rio High School and worked tirelessly to support teachers and help students acquire the remarkable skills they needed that would help them prepare for a successful career. Through his efforts, Del Rio High School vocational program began expanding courses selection offering for students taught at the 7th grade and on through the high school. At the time, new non-traditional courses included occupational orientation, production management service, industrial co-op training, industrial electronics, photography, and printing. New trades were evolving within the sign of times. In 1992, he went on to present and implement the Tech Prep Associate Degree Program, which offered a 4-year high school graduation plan with career development and counseling, beginning with recruitment of the students in the middle school grades. One of his final project was to coordinate an aircraft maintenance program in collaboration with Laughlin Air Force Base, which is still in existence and growing every year. Mr. Maldonado Gerald, as he was referred to by his colleagues, was deeply committed to the community and to the students in San Felipe Consolidated Independent School District by dedicating more than 37 years of service in preparing for the youth for the workforce. Even after retired in 1995, Mr. Maldonado continued to serve as an advisor to the Career and Technical Education Program in the Del Rio High School. Many of his former students not active in the community can attest to the self-dedication and passion he had to teaching. Mr. Maldonado truly helped build a legacy. Mr. Maldonado passed away over a year ago in San Antonio. Therefore, please allow me to put forward and nominating the name of Gerald Maldonado, a distinguished pioneer and role model in the area of career and technical education, as the name of the new career and technical education bill. Thank you.
Any comments? Mr. Overfeld?
Well, I didn't, because I was in high school at that time, right as he was retiring. There in 95, I would have been sophomore there, so long time ago. But I was a product my senior year of the aircraft maintenance program there, which, as Mr. Chivita said in the prepared statement, that he helped pioneer there. And I think it still remains one of the only ones in the state of Texas. It is the only one in the state of Texas where the United States Air Force and a public school have an agreement to allow, at one point it was only seniors, now it's been opened up to more than just that, to allow them onto a fully functioning military base and learn all the different settings there that allow them to get a job right out of high school there. And I got to go through that my senior year, and it allowed for me to work on the Air Force Base for about 1.5 years there. So that was a very cool thing. And now that I know the history of, who got that rolling for us there, it makes it all the more special there. And again, has been expressed this evening, I don't think any of these two individuals are not worthy of a name on a building there to continue that legacy there. So I'm for it.
Mr. Mesa.
Mr. Maldonado and I worked together. He happened to be in the district when I was still in the district, and I remember his infectious smile. Every time we came to a meeting, it seemed like, we were all stressed because we had more work to do. And so, but he always had this attitude of smiling and being friendly with everyone. He was just a great person. He inspired everyone to be in a happy mode because, yes, he would come, with some jokes, and it was just great to be around him because he, again, had a smile no matter how stressful, our meetings were. And sometimes, again, we come to administrative meetings and they give you perhaps a little bit more of a list of things to do. But he always had that smile, and it carried on with the rest of his friends. He was a great individual, a true friend, and an excellent worker. I think he, when you say dedication, he was a person that was truly dedicated to his career and did an outstanding job because along with that, he had a true love of his students. That's something that you might say you worked 37 years in the district, but to see an individual that he truly cared for individuals that he served, the students, that was really one of his, again, most important points in his career, that he connected with students. And I truly enjoyed being around Mr. Maldonado, and I know his family well. I think he was truly a deserving person to name a building after him.
I was not in town when Mr. Maldonado was in charge of the vocational areas. I do know that I do have a couple of brothers that did study under him. It is amazing to know, for me, to say that an individual person can truly, truly make a difference in people's lives. And I know that Mr. Maldonado did. And I think the message that I want to leave you with is, while I may not have personally known of what all he did for the community, we too can make a difference in our students' lives. So for all of you that are out there today teaching, in any capacity, employees, continue making that difference. Continue working towards leaving that legacy. So thank you to the Maldonado family for sharing your dad with us, and we do thank him for the legacy that he leaves behind. No other comments?
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And besides, like Raymond was saying, that Mr. Maldonado was part of man. While I was at the high school as assistant principal, he was out there helping everybody. And I would, every morning I'd be sitting here with him because I was in charge of the lunch program, and he was the only one that would sit with me every day. So finally, one time I told him, "Hey, Gerald, I'm going to treat you to a luncheon somewhere. You pick the place." I was there 5 years, and 5 years he would have some reason for telling me that, we'll go later on. We'll go later on. So one time we were close to the lunch line and said, "Gerald, let's go eat. There's something good in there." So we go, and we paid for his lunch and whatnot. So I'm sitting across from him. I said, "Gerald, by the way, that's your lunch." He said, "Oh, come on, guys." So that was the lunch that I promised you. But anyway, he was all laughing, all that type of thing. Got a big kick out of it. But Gerald was something else. So again, and besides that, Nani Maldonado, welcome. She's one of my classmates. We graduated a short while ago in '57.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
at this time, I would like to motion to name the Career and Technology site currently under construction at 10th and Main Street the Gerald Maldonado Career and Technology Center, and direct the administration to take the appropriate steps to do so and hold the dedication ceremony upon completion of construction.
I second that motion.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation and the second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Would the Maldonado family...
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Kind of choked up for words, but basically, I appreciate the opportunity to sit here and visit with you. It truly is
an opportunity to, in his behalf, to accept this, and you're all willing to honor him in such a way. I remember there was many times he'd always talk about different things, but he said one thing is always about character. He says you can pass your character on three simple things. He would say the first thing would be whatever you do, you do 110%. Whether you play ball that way, whether you do your education that way, whether you work. He said the second thing is a man's word is a man's word, and a handshake is the same way. So you respect that. When somebody, whether it be male, female, young, old, if they put that hand out there, that's total respect. And whatever is said is said. The third was, he went through and he said, if you ever borrow something, you always have to give it back to him in the shape it was, or in better shape, then you got it. And then if it's something breaks, then you replace it. All those little steps that he went through and said would say, make your character stand for yourself. I think tonight, and by the communication I've had when he passed away with different people, and him saying that I wouldn't be in the mechanic field if it wasn't for your father. The people that always supported, always had a great sense of humor. My family background, raising of family and the way they were. They've always been a real knit family. But he put all this time into education. My mom put her education. We put the education all the way through. We believe in education. Go and retire, work, and start off in Del Rio. The community's awesome. We're born and raised here. The family, all the backing is such a knit family. And it's an honor to stand in front of you. And I truly thank you all for the opportunity to name that building. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. Ms. Maldonado, did you care to say a few words? Thank you, Ms. Maldonado. Okay, I believe we agreed to take 18A next. Salary adjustments for hourly waged employees. Dr. Rios.
Sandra, if I can have you come forward.
Bye, thank you.
Just gonna have her help me.
Sandra, before you get going, we do have extra seats over here in the front for those who might want to sit down. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, I'll begin now.
Go on ahead and get started. As soon as you're ready, sir.
Yeah, they're setting up the PowerPoint. That's okay. We can just go through that one. That's okay. May I begin, Madam President?
Absolutely, sir.
The floor is yours.
Mrs. Baptiste Lozano, members of the board, this item, for clarification, is not an action item. It is a report. It can become an action item if the board so chooses in the next meeting. But today, I would like to report what we have done over the last couple of months and share what the administration's intentions are. If you so agree with the administration's intentions, then I'll go ahead and implement that, and I'll certainly have further conversations with y'all. But we literally finished this Friday afternoon when we met with some TASB representatives over the telephone. Over the last couple of months, we've had focused meetings with both the bus drivers and our cafeteria workers. Some of the meeting dates are up there that we've met. And one of the considerations of the meetings has been salary adjustments for both our cafeteria workers and our bus drivers. We began after the meeting with the cafeteria workers. I shared with them, I don't know if, I didn't know for sure if I could provide a salary adjustment after the contract had started. We went and we looked at the policy, and the policy is clear that the superintendent can provide a salary adjustment when the market value of the job warrants additional compensation. But besides the board policy, there were other items to consider. While I agree wholeheartedly with everything that has been shared in relation to the cafeteria workers, the reality is that I also have to agree with the bus drivers and with the other paraprofessionals who we have determined are below the market value. We asked the TASB salary individuals who were working with us to expedite the process, to let us know how our hourly wage people were doing in comparison to other districts. And it was clear that both our hourly employees as well as our paraprofessionals, who are also hourly, were well underpaid. We asked what it would cost to correct everyone, and it was very close to $1 million to adjust everyone's salary. I have to consider in sharing with y'all what I intend, what our current budget is as well. Because last year, early last year, I was tasked with, and not by the board, but just by the responsibilities of the job, to identify how many students were not in domicile. And we began a process to identify and remove students. And we removed approximately 50 students. And I committed to our cabinet that we would do a more thorough job over the summer. And although we predicted our enrollment to continue with the previous trends, the efforts to remove students who were not in domicile was successful. We removed approximately 125 students. When it was all said and done, our budget, and we'll be presenting an amendment this coming month, will be to the tune of about $450,000 that we expect to reduce less because of a decreased enrollment. Coupling what a full correction to the salary adjustment would be with the decreased enrollment, I would look at creating over $1 million deficit that I'm not saying we can't overcome. I'm certainly not saying that. Our district is healthy, but we don't know how it will look in the next few months. The chart up there shows a decreased enrollment. I think that says approximately 124.5 or 0.7 students. Here's what I am recommending. If you go to the next slide, Sandra. While I appreciate the conversations that I've had with the cafeteria workers, I'm thankful for the board organization for their leadership in making sure these meetings have been very productive. I also have to recognize that there are other groups that need a salary adjustment. I have to recognize that we don't know what the budget will look like. And I also want to remind everyone that we have made a commitment to do the salary study to determine how to fix the entire problem. But I also think that in reviewing the budget with Ms. Valdez and the cabinet, I also feel that we have enough money to begin to move in the right direction. What I would like to do over the next month is have Ms. Valdez and her staff calculate a one-step increase for everyone who has been identified by TASB in the hourly range, calculate a one-step increase for the entire year, meaning going back to their starting date, okay, shift the entire salary matrix one step, and then fully commit to work with the board in the budget process to ride everything. I agree that Eagle Pass pays more, but I also want to share with the board that Eagle Pass pays more at the beginning, but they cap their salary after 20 steps, Yanakani?
If it was in comparison terms, about 17.
17 steps. We continue to provide increases all the way through step 45. Yeah, I am not saying or even implying that it's tit for tat, okay? I'm just saying that they do pay more up front, but they also cap their salary at some point. And we have to consider that when we implement the full correction to the salary study. Therefore, as superintendent, I'm informing you that it is my intention, and I'm informing you that it's my intention to adjust everyone who is paid on an hourly basis by one step and fully commit to work with the board to fix everything based on the salary study that will be fully provided by TASB, I believe, in the month of February, Yanakani?
Yes, they can provide it.
And again, this isn't an action item. This is me sharing with the board what we're able to do at this time, comfortably able to do. But I certainly understand my position and will take any other direction from the board. I would just caution you on what it costs to fix everything, on the fact that we can't fix everything unless we adjust all of our pay scales, which would involve considering some salary ranges versus steps, and also what it would cost in addition to the reduced enrollment we've had. If there's any questions, we'll certainly do our best to answer them.
I have a question.
Mr. Mesa?
So what actually are we talking about when we say a salary step? What would it bring the hourly rate to?
Well, it's real simple, sir. All we do is remove the first step and increase everybody. If they're on step 2, they would go to step 3. It would still be called step 2. We would increase the value of that step. And the total cost for us to do this at this point, Ms. Valdez, $350,000.
$350, but it includes para and hourly.
It includes para and hourly. And again, I just want to remind the board, it's going to cost $350,000 to do one step for everybody, plus the $450,000 that we're losing because of the decreased enrollment, removing the students that are not in domicile. That's $800,000 that we would have to, and again, we know we can do it. We've already looked at the numbers. We can safely do that. To do any more would certainly, the board knows that we've been trying to provide a tighter budget every year.
And the reason I question that is because the last salary study indicated hourly wage also was the lowest. And so, you know, when they bring up the fact that $200,000 was spent as furniture, which again some board members objected to and have reason to, yet the hourly wage was not really adjusted as it should. The last TASB salary study that was done indicated hourly wage was the lowest group that was needing some adjustment, fair adjustment. And yet we're here again several years later doing another salary study, and yet hourly wage is still low.
Yes, sir, that's correct, Mr. Mesa. That hourly study happened before I arrived. And when we arrived with the hourly individuals who were beyond the 90% salary range, at that time I recommended a 3-year step to bring them adjustment, and they're now within the step. We didn't adjust all of the salary, all of the hourly individuals. We adjusted the ones that were below 90% of the market. So we adjusted some, not everybody, but we also communicated to the board the groups that we would adjust every year, and it is the hourly people that we intend to fully adjust with y'all's cooperation this summer. Right now, I'm informing the board that I intend to do one step across the board, unless there's other direction, but it will cost $350,000.
I do have a question. I think it's the second slide. You said consideration, provide a salary adjustment for non-contractual cafeteria workers and bus drivers. But then I believe Ms. Valdez and yourself insinuated it would be more than just the cafeteria workers and bus drivers. So is it all, or is it just the bus drivers and the non-contractual cafeteria workers that we're looking at?
Yes, ma'am. This slide only speaks to the meetings that we had with those two groups.
Okay.
But the salary adjustment will be for 100% of the employees who are paid on an hourly basis, and that's includes paraprofessionals. The two general categories, Bianca County will share with us because I know she knows them off the top of her head.
What's hourly and TASB classifies them as auxiliary, and then paraprofessional.
Please, ma'am.
I'm so sorry.
We have people in the audience that probably would be interested in hearing what you're saying.
When we asked TASB for a preliminary report for hourly staff, they provided both groups that they consider hourly, which is hourly or auxiliary and paraprofessional. So that is the information they provided on Friday, and that's where we're providing this information for both groups.
And that group is what you're guesstimating with the one step would be $350,000?
Those two groups would be $350,000.
Can you, Madam President, can you outline the job titles under auxiliary so they know exactly who we're talking about, the job titles under paraprofessional?
I believe, are job classifications on their website? They're not. Under hourly, it includes our bus drivers, our monitors, our custodians, our warehouse staff, our maintenance, a lot of our maintenance staff, and custodians, security, food service workers, and our, they're called clerks, textbook clerks, and our mailmen. That's under hourly. And our paraprofessionals include most of our aides, secretaries, and aides and secretaries under paraprofessional. LVNs, I think that's the major group is, they're obviously aligned under different pay grades, but it's instructional aides and secretarial workers under paraprofessional.
And the plan would be, Dr. Rios, to do this now?
Yes, ma'am. Over the next 2 weeks, Ms. Valdez and her staff can inform me how soon they can get this done to implement it. I do have to recognize that right now the district is going through our annual audit, and while we're committed to do this, we have people in-house right here and that's a very serious process. If Ms. Valdez, within the next week, informs me that we can get this done by December, then we will. And I will announce it to the board and to everybody else. I'll certainly communicate with the individuals that are present here. And if she tells me, no, it's going to take me 3 more weeks and we can't get it done by the next pay, then I'll inform them. But whether she gets it done for the December pay period or the January pay period, we're committed to doing it unless I get other direction by the board, from the board.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chavita.
Dr. Rios, what you're doing is great, because I feel like if we're going to give somebody, it should be across the board. But my question would be, when you say starting at a certain time, or do we retroact their pay?
No, it's retroactive because we're adjusting the value of the step and we're not prorating it. We're valuing the entire year.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Massa, yes, sir.
Aren't the bus drivers starting at $10 an hour?
I do not have the rates in front of me, sir. I'm sorry. I can provide their hourly schedule. Yes, somebody's saying yes. Okay.
Mr. Maldonado?
Well, the bus drivers are at a different pay grade. I believe they're either at a 4, pay grade 4.
pay grade 4 and cafeterias at a pay grade 1.
Well, I'm saying,
Now-
why do we need to do, I think the one that, requires more attention at this time is not the bus drivers, but cafeteria workers, and at a later time, yes, we could do the bus drivers, but I think, again, when you start a bus driver at $10 an hour, and a cafeteria worker that has 27 years is getting paid $13.25?
Madam Chairman,
Just a moment. Yes, sir.
I have an unusual question, but I just have to ask.
Yes, sir.
The $200,000 office furniture that I argued against numerous times and voted against, has that furniture been purchased?
The bid process has initiated.
So it has not been purchased.
There's not a purchase order in the process, no, sir.
So there's $200,000. I think people's pay is more important than executive office furniture.
And Dr. Rios.
I don't disagree with the comments made by both Mr. Mesa and Mr. Garabedian. However, I just want to inform the process. We know, and I wasn't in the district, but we know by the history of the district what happens when we select one group of individuals and only compensate them. We know how divisive that has been for the other employees. And I have those conversations with the employees every time we meet in this room and have to caution one group that no one group is more important than the other when we talk about a salary raise like I'm doing now. I also agree with Mr. Garabedian that the salary of individuals is valued and certainly more valued than a desk. But we're talking about a one-time purchase of $200,000 versus a continuous annual increase of $350,000 plus what we increased this summer. I don't dispute wanting to pay everybody more. I don't dispute that the cafeteria workers would be amongst the lowest paid. I just cannot, as the administrative leader of the district, select one group over another. It would not be in the best interest of the organization.
Mr. Overfelt.
In kind of response to that, and not trying to pick a fight or anything like that, it's all going to be professional up here. In the comment over one group over the other, and we're not going to favor and all of that there. Since I've been here in May of 2012, there have been through 3 cycles, budget cycles there. Teachers, there we've gone in and through the salary study and all that there, we've gone in and just within the last 2 years bumped their starting pay $2,500 there. Administration has seen a step or a half step, or I don't know how many since I've been here there, and I've said it before, and at least in groups and stuff and that, and I'll say it here, some of our administrators get paid way too much there, I think. And, yeah, the front row right here doesn't like me, but it's okay. But, that's, in a sense, that's one group over the other. $2,500 in 2 years for starting pay for teachers, that's one group. They're favored over hourly and stuff like that there. So, that's my response to we're not going in and favoring one group. We tend to favor teacher and admin over hourly there. So, and I know Mr. Mesa has said it since I've been on the board, and I've agreed several times that the hourly employees need to be the ones who are focused on there, because the teachers and administrators, for the most part, they're comfortable at where they're sitting. We're never going to be what they are in San Antonio with that starting pay there. We've made great strides, and I think it's time to focus somewhere else. And there. And on a side note, Ms. Valdez, you said cafeteria is Schedule 1 for
I
hourly?
I don't have the schedules in front of me, but
I'm looking at right now, 79-1-4, 88-1-5. So I'm curious as to what they are. And there, so I can throw numbers.
I'd have to pull it. I don't know if we have it here. Is it on their job description?
No, the matrix are there, under employment and compensations.
The job classifications?
No, not job classifications.
Oh, well, the job classifications list. I don't have it on the website.
Well, my point
No.
is hourly 79-1-4, whatever that works out. What's that, 179 days?
At 4 hours.
At 4 hours, and what our cafeteria workers are at? Our ladies are at
188 or 182 at 6 hours maybe.
182? 192 at 6 hours?
Thank you.
192 at 6 hours, which would be 92-1-6, correct?
Yes. So
Starting
yes,
pay,
the grade
starting pay, step 0. There's $9,354.24, and there, annually, there, right? Are they paid out over 12 or 9 months?
Well, their pay
10 months?
pay periods are broken out into 20.
Okay, so over
So it's 10 months.
10 months.
Yes.
There. The poverty line, or what's considered the poverty line in the state of Texas, is something like $22,000. There. So we're going in and starting not even half of that. There. And then it's slowly, if we're going up one step, right, just to give you an idea for comparison, for those who don't have it in front of them, there, let's say somebody who's been here 11 years is making $12,395.52. We bump them a step is $12,672. Do the math, carry the 5, divide by whatever. There, it's like 200 something dollars there, and when you equate it out hourly, what we're looking at 25 to 75 cents range. There, still $10,000 below what the poverty line is in the state of Texas. There, so I think something needs to be done, and that's what we're discussing there. And I'll wait to hear other comments before I say something else. So that's my response.
I believe Mr. Messick.
I also want to point out the fact that at this point, under my objections, the librarians are going to be deleted, and we're hiring 2 library aides, for example. The librarians, that's Dr. Rios' plan, to have 1 master librarian, and then we have paraprofessionals running the libraries, which I totally object to. But that's money that this district is saving. There's 2 positions that are going to be brought up tonight, correct?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mesa, you're partly correct. We're not deleting the librarians. They will continue to be posted, but because we have not had qualified applicants and we continue to post a job, we want to provide some assistance to those campuses. So you're correct in that we're adding those positions, but we will continue to look for librarians. Yes, sir.
And isn't that same thing happening with the physical ed coaches?
Oh, absolutely. We want to replace elementary PE teachers with paraprofessionals and leave only 1 to 2 certified PE teachers on the campus. That's a model that's being used in so many districts.
So that money is left over.
Absolutely.
Well, if I may add, we're talking about different funding sources. The PE and the librarians are under general fund, and the food service fund is a separate fund from general fund.
How difficult is it to roll, starting next year, to roll the food service into general? Then we stop doing a completely separate account.
If I could respond, ma'am. And I thank you so much, Ms. Valdez.
Speaking out of order. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're all speaking
I'm
out of
sorry.
order. Please, let's be respectful of each
sorry.
other. Were you?
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That's a part that I forgot to include in the presentation. That if I'm going to do something other than the step increase, then we have to have board action, because it will involve consideration to go outside of the cafeteria fund to be able to fund that increase. And ma'am, I'm not opposed to a higher raise. That's not it at all. I'm only recommending what I know we can do with the budget. If I'm directed otherwise, then absolutely. But I'm doing what I believe is prudent with the budget that we have now, with the understanding that we would have other considerations, because they did mention other districts. Other districts, as Mr. Overfeld suggested, does pay with different funds other than just the cafeteria fund.
Going back to one of the comments that Mr. Mesa made, and it was before Dr. Rios' time. That was our last salary survey. We actually have had 3 budget opportunities where we as a board failed to address our hourly employees. So we have no one to blame but ourselves. And that last salary survey, I really pushed for an increase, especially for those hourly employees that are so sadly low. So, but the reality is, we have no one to blame but ourselves. Now, for tonight, we can't vote on this issue. However, we can make sure that we work with the administration to make sure, if that is what the board wishes to do, to move forward and right these wrongs, because they really are not fair. Now, that is not currently in the budget. Obviously, that's what Dr. Rios presented tonight. There's nothing that precludes or prevents us, the board, from choosing to make some kind of change to the budget. I don't know what that takes midstream. However, really, this is about being just and fair. Our bus drivers, all of our hourly employees, why should they have to? That's right, one of the ladies, Ms. Arispe, said, are we not worthy? Are we not important? Heck yeah, you're important. We appreciate the work that you do. Granted, I'm one board member, but I am passionate about being fair. So I personally would charge administration to work on making this as fair as possible. That doesn't mean we're going to offer $15 an hour. We do have to work within our budget. However, please, please do everything in your power to right the wrongs. Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
what would it take to put a hold on the purchase of the $200,000 office furniture until we get a little bit further into this process, knowing or believing, as I do, that people's salaries are more important than executive office furniture?
Well, that's not on the agenda. However, I believe what we can do today is go back and ask the administration to work on trying to figure out. Now, if that includes putting a hold on furniture, then so be it. But you're absolutely right. We do need to right this wrong.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And for the record, y'all have office furniture. It's not a case that you'd be out without furniture.
Mr. Garabedian, that's not on the agenda, though.
It's true.
I'll show you a piece of furniture that I saw the other day that's really dilapidated. So that is something that was on the agenda, was discussed, was voted on by this board. Any other comments?
I just want clear direction. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, please do.
Again, to be able to move money from one budget to another, I will require board action. I shared what I can do within the immediate budget. I would encourage the board to communicate with me. I will provide a board update just as soon as I can what the implications are for each budget in terms of transfers and adjustments. But I would appreciate some feedback on writing an agenda item for the next board meeting if that is the request of the board, so that we can take appropriate action. I also want to make sure that those are the wishes of the board, because then I need to halt the one-step adjustment in the meantime and wait till the December board meeting to take action. I'll also inform the board that later on today I will be asking the board to have a meeting on the second Monday in December versus the third, which will make this even a little bit more of a crunch time for you, Ms. Valdez, but I'm sure you're up to the task. But again, I just want direction from the board, and from what I've heard the comments, I'm not going to do the one-step adjustment right now. I'm going to provide the board with figures so that we can take a more comprehensive action in December, and that's what I'm going to do. And if there's any other direction, then I'd like to know.
Mr. Overfeld, I believe, has his finger up first, sorry.
Remember when I was elected and not long into it, there, Mr. Garabedian can remember, there came the issue of the football field, and this all ties in, you'll see. The football field and the turf, there was $1 million thing that wasn't planned for in the budget the summer before. And we amended the budget for $1 million to put turf out there.
You're right.
So ultimately the budget can be amended there, and I know it's not for a vote or anything like that, but I would like to see in December an item that lays out there what it would cost the district there to raise the scale there to be competitive with Eagle Pass ISD. That's what I'd like to see in December, sir. Just an item of what it would go in and cost us there.
Mr. Mesa?
Yes, I'd like to request that item be placed on the agenda for December.
Mr. Chavita? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You know, we can go up here and talk and say, let's give money in here. I'm for same way as you. I mean, from 4 or 5 years ago that we talked about hourly wages, and I remember one time the buses, we couldn't hire plumbers, we couldn't do this, because, and I kept on saying, hey, well, you can't hire them because you don't pay them. And I remember saying that time and time again. But getting back to the budget and giving money, you know, we can buy and stop paying for items, but this is a one-time item. This is a salary. Once we give it to them, as you will know, you people have your own budgets at home. You can't buy it. I don't care who says what if you don't have the money. And you got to be careful. And the one that moves the money is the one that's responsible for it. Same way with our superintendent here. Sometimes we make it feel like he doesn't want to give it. But he does. But and I'm glad we got him to control what our desires are. I'm for giving them as much money as we can possibly give it, but staying within our budget. And if we have to pull money, like you were saying about for the one-time thing for the stadium, hey, so it be. But keep in mind that we can only do it so many years, so because we only have so much money. So we can't rely on that. We have to rely on what the money from the state is, and if we're going to be moving money away, that means we're not going to be spending money for that budget and so forth. So budgets are easy to control, but then you got to be careful that you don't move money that you're going to need later on in the year. So again, Mr. Superintendent, I continue to work with it, and I'm glad that that at least we're working on something towards getting them a better pay. But I'm for one thing: if you make exceptions and you only give it to one department, you can rest assured that the other ones are going to be there demanding that they get the same treatment. And I don't blame them. So we need to be careful. So let's go ahead and if we're going to make any movements, let's do it across the board. I'm for giving them as much money as we can, but we need to be careful.
I'd just like to see the same that Josh and Mr. Mesa asked for as well.
For the December meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
And Dr. Rios, you're pretty clear on what the board has charged you with?
I'm clear. At the next board, before the next board meeting, we will provide a scale of what it costs for 1, 2, or 3 steps, or an entire adjustment, even to the pay matrix. We will give you as much information as we can over the next 5 to 10 days. And hopefully at the next board meeting, you can take appropriate action. I will not proceed with a one step across the board. I will provide you all information, and we'll hopefully have a decision at the next board meeting. To then, of course, implement in January, because we have the Christmas holidays in between.
Madam Chairman, I forgot to mention one thing,
Yes,
and Dr. Rios brought it up. On the matrix, you were saying that Eagle Pass pays more up front, but then they stop their steps. Maybe we ought to look at it and stop our steps because we need the money now, not 25 years from now. And if 17 gets him more money up front, I think it'd be a good thing.
So your plan for coming back in December will include where the money would come from, how much we can actually afford, and then also address the steps versus, I think you had mentioned something about a salary range. Would you be prepared to present that as well in December? Or does that have to wait for the TASB survey information?
I'm going to work with our administrative team to do as much as possible so we can be comprehensive, because if we give an adjustment and it doesn't take into account the salary scale, then I'm setting up the district to have even more uncertainty in the summer when we address the entire salary study. So at least for the hourly employees, I would like to do that. I'd like to bring the whole packet for your review. I think that we have enough information where we can make those recommendations. It's really the calculation and where the money's going to come from that's going to be the difficult part. In terms of salary ranges, I think we can do that. Yes, ma'am. We'll do the whole packet.
Thank you. Any other further discussion on this now? Okay. All right. Do we need a break? Let's return at 8 o'clock. It is, I don't know what time, that's wrong.
Madam Chairman, a motion for a recess for 10 minutes. That way we make it official.
Okay. We have a motion to recess for 10 minutes.
Second.
Second, all in favor? We're in recess for 10 minutes. I don't know what time it is, though. Okay, we will now reconvene. It has been 10 minutes. It is 7:52. And we had one last agenda item that was, we had asked to move up, and that is 10A, consideration to appoint or call special election to fill vacancy on the board. That's my item. I had, just to clarify, I had originally asked for this item to be placed back on the agenda simply because there had been a question about whether Dr. Keyes could still vote. So I had wanted to make sure that all the board was aware that until we actually fill that position, Dr. Keyes could at any time come back and vote, which is fine. However, when we had an opportunity to speak to legal counsel in preparation for this meeting, we spoke to Mr. Bob Schulman, and that is when Dr. Rios and I learned that there had been additional information that would have definitely changed how we voted and our discussion that we had at our last month's meeting. So we invited Mr. Schulman to be with us tonight. He is our legal counsel. However, he was unable to travel to Del Rio today, but we're lucky to have Mr. Joe Hoffer. So, Joe, would you mind stepping up to the mic and just kind of giving us and our home audience as well. A little background as to how we actually have this on the agenda tonight to discuss again whether we're going to appoint or call a special election.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, Dr. Rios. It's an honor to be here, and Bob Schulman was in Houston today with the school district there, and so I was available to travel here, so I appreciate being here again and being in your lovely town. And there's also a closed session item that's parallel to this, so if there's specific legal advice beyond the summary that I'll provide for you, we would go into a closed session to receive attorney-client privilege information, unless, of course, the board wants to, as a board, waive the attorney-client privilege. I'll try to, for the benefit of the board and the public, give you what the legal requirements are. And you received a letter that was, I think, discussed in closed session at a prior meeting, discussing what the legal requirements are for filling a vacancy on the board. And we issued an addendum to that letter that evening. Unfortunately, it was not communicated effectively, and that's our error because it was not communicated through all the way. And the issue is, if you have a trustee who has less than a year left on their term, you don't have to necessarily fill the vacancy. You can wait. The board has the option to fill the vacancy, or it can wait till the next election. If there's more than a year, which in Dr. Keyes' case, there was more than a year left on his term, then you either have to fill by appointment within 180 days or hold a special election at the next election. In this instance, Dr. Keyes' term is several years. I believe there's more than a year left on his term.
2, yes, sir.
Okay. And the next general election is in May, and the 180th day from his effective resignation is in April. And so we have approximately a 1-month gap of where the education code varies from the elections code. And the education code says the board has to appoint within 180 days or have the election. Well, we don't have the election because that's in May, which says you have to appoint. Now, the board also has the option, under a fairly rarely used statute of the elections code, to, under an emergency, petition the governor. It's not holding a special election because that would be if the election falls before the term's expired, which we don't have that election. The election, again, is in May. But the board has the option, if it wants to, petition to the governor for an emergency to hold an election on a non-uniform date to fill the unexpired term of Dr. Keyes. So those are the options before you. Either the board can appoint and must appoint before the 180th day, which, again, would be in April. And granted, there's a month then until the next election. Or the board can petition the governor for an emergency and a proclamation from the governor to hold a special emergency election at a date to be determined. Clear as mud.
Yes.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have several questions, but I'm going to start out saying what I think is obvious. I'm not budging from my position from last month at this point. I think the people need to have a voice, and to me that seems to be an election. What I am a little confused about at this point is you haven't really said anything, Mr. Hoffer, that we didn't already understand. The key for me was when you mentioned petitioning the governor for the emergency election. We understood that a month ago. That's what I'm not clear about. What is it that is different now as opposed to last month?
I'm not sure what's different. If that was your understanding last month, then there is no difference. But my understanding was there was some confusion.
No, I have both communiques from legal counsel. The first one, which we received prior to last month's meeting, and the one that is the updated, I guess, that came about a week ago. And what you've just explained to us, to me, it's clear in both. I understand that there is a 180-day window, right? And that there is a problem with hitting a uniform election date. But there seemed to be some confusion that we must appoint. And that is not the case, because you did say that in this instance, we could petition the governor for an emergency election, is the term. So an election is still possible, correct?
That's correct. So the difference would be if there was an election before the 180th day, you could either appoint or just let it be filled at the election. But because there's not an election, then your options are either appoint or, under a separate part of the Elections Code, petition the governor for an emergency election.
Because the other thing I've noticed when I look at both communiques, and I realize it's privileged information, so I'm not going to go into detail, but you're citing the same authorities. And that's why I went and looked at the code myself. So I'm not quite sure how we're in a different position this month than we were last month. I'm not criticizing you. I do have another question. We're talking about the law, correct? The education code and the election code. How would that be a subject for a closed session discussion?
To seek legal advice, anytime you want legal advice from your counsel, you're allowed to take it into executive session to get that legal advice.
Okay, but specifically the law is public knowledge.
The law is public knowledge. That's why I'm here addressing what the legal requirements are.
Okay, so we can do an emergency election. That much is crystal clear. We can petition the governor, in other words, for an emergency election.
And if the governor has discretion, though, if he does not grant it, then you have to appoint.
Understood. So it's not a case of we must appoint. It is a case of either, again, like last month, either choosing an appointment or trying to do an election. So I'm going to stand firm as if I was chained with steel. I am for the public's voice in the matter, and I will support the petition to the governor's office for an emergency election.
Right, and just to clarify, Mr. Garabedian, the agenda item is listed as consideration to appoint or call special election. Mr. Mesa?
I'm with the same opinion. I'd like to call, again, to be true to our citizens. I don't like the way it was handled the last time we had a vacancy, and so I'd like to call for a special election.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm curious about the holdover doctrine. Okay, the holdover doctrine, this is what entitles a board member, like in the case of Dr. Keys, who resigned. His letter was dated the 6th, but we didn't do a formal acceptance of the letter. So the law says that it becomes effective 8 days later, correct? But as of October 14th, Dr. Keys is officially resigned, right, the way I understand the law. But the holdover doctrine says that until someone sits in his place, he could actually show up and vote. Is that correct?
That's the general understanding of the law.
Okay. Okay.
One thing he can't do is vote for a replacement if there was an appointment, but the holdover doctrine says that he's entitled to vote until you replace him. And there's, lots of AG opinions and court cases going back and forth on that. It's a pretty contested issue, as you might imagine.
But it is in board policy. I mean, it's on whatever page. It's highlighted. That's pretty clear.
That's correct.
And so, just for clarification, the first communique that we got, I think on October the 8th from legal counsel, there was a revision to that we didn't get, right?
The one that Mr. Schulman,
There was a text.
well, there really wasn't, but would you go into a little bit about that, or would you rather take this into closed session?
I don't think I mind stating what happened, the events leading to that meeting. Mr. Schulman, his horse Jake, died that afternoon, and he was burying his horse, and the administration had been in consult with him over the vacancy and what the guidance would be. And they were not able to reach Mr. Schulman because he was taking care of his horse. And I think Dr. Rios had asked that they get a hold of me to be on call for the meeting, which I was available to be on call for the meeting. Mr. Schulman, when the administration gave me the facts, because I was unaware of any type of prior discussion, because I couldn't get a hold of Bob either, I researched it. I came to a conclusion what the answer is. Finally, I got a hold of Bob, and Bob said, we need to clarify our letter so there's no confusion that there are two things that can happen. He attempted to send a text message to alert the board that call us, we have an update. He, in his bereavement, sent the text message to his wife, and assuming everything was taken care of. The text message was never delivered to Dr. Rios, and then we got a text message from administration saying the board meeting went, we're back in open session. Thank you for being available to us. And it's our fault for not ensuring the communication went through, that we had a clarification on that.
But what was the clarification? That's why I'm confused. I mean, I don't see any substantial difference between the first advisory and the second. That's why.
The clarification is if there was less than a year on the term, then you didn't have to actually do anything. But because there's more than a year of the term left, there's either an appointment, or you call, or it's at the next election, or you petition for a special election. And the advisory probably covered all of the legal requirements, and as does your board policy, but the original letter was not as clear on that point of what your options were. At least we felt it wasn't clear enough, so we felt that there was a need to supplement.
In the text, where is the text? The text was just sent to the wrong person. Right?
Yeah, the text went to Bob Schulman's wife.
That's fine. I went to
Yeah,
the
and
wrong person.
I have a text saying to I think Dr. Garza that, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of Bob. Bob's going to send a text to clarify. Let me know if we need anything else. And we've got those text messages. We got the communications, but it was our error in not ensuring that our communications were not delivered while you all were preparing to go into closed session.
Well, I appreciate your thoroughness. I think we're in the same position. We can appoint or petition the governor for an emergency.
That is correct. The legal position, your legal options have not changed.
My position has not changed at all.
Well, let me just clarify a little bit, Joe, or maybe I'm misunderstanding. There is a big difference. The difference is we can appoint, or we have to petition the governor for a special election in order to meet that 180-day deadline. Yes or no? Or can we still wait today till May? Not appoint, because I think the board has spoken loud and clear. We definitely want the community to decide. Can we, right now, wait till May?
No, at this point you cannot wait till May.
So there is a difference.
The difference
From the
is
first-
you have to either appoint or petition the governor for a special election.
Okay, so that is a difference.
Well, then what the revision is we have to revise what we wanted to do, but still, in election, we have to
Right.
ask for
I think the
to do a
board was,
petition.
and really, this would have been all made clear had we actually called legal counsel when we went to closed session. However, I chose not to do that, and I believe the board was okay with it because no one demanded that we call legal counsel that evening, because it was clear what the board wanted to do, and that was wait for the election.
And the advisory was clear.
Yeah, so...
On the face of the advisory, there was no need to call legal counsel. That's why I'm a little confused, but no, you've clarified it. So what needs to happen, if the board so chooses, which I think it probably does, that we'll have to petition for governor's permission of an emergency election.
And there's precedent for this. The Fort Worth ISD in 2002, this is very rarely used, had a death of a board member, and they declared that an emergency, and the Governor Perry at the time, allowed that to be the emergency that stood for calling a special election. This is not used often. We've only found about 6 in the last 20 years of where it's been effectuated, but the precedence there, I expect the governor's office would follow what previous governors have done if that's the board's directive, and in which case we would prepare the petition based on what prior districts have used, present to the board for action at the next meeting. We would probably have to research and work with the governor's council on what the election date might be, give it enough time so that your voters have enough time to be informed and to exercise their right. And so I'd expect we'd have a spring election. And then we would also want to clarify with the governor's office, because this is a rarely used statute, that elected official who's elected, that they serve the remainder of the term of Dr. Keyes, or do they then have to turn around and run for election again at the next cycle? We'd want to clarify that. I believe the answer is they fill the unexpired term, but the statutes don't clearly speak to that. But it would seem inefficient to have one special election and then someone have to run again, and I think that would frustrate the voters as well. So I don't think, usually the law is common sense, usually.
Mr. Overfelt?
So however, that was going to be my question. You started to lead into it there. If we petition the governor's office for this, you're saying y'all would have to work up the petition. It comes to us in December 14 there, which will probably be the next board meeting there. Then y'all would have to work with council at the governor's office, and that's already into holidays, so we can pretty much ride off into the beginning of January. And then the governor's office is going to go in and look at, like you said, the last 6 cases or whatever this has occurred in the last 20 years there. And depending on how long it takes the governor's office to get back, would we have to go in and approve, say, okay, the governor's office said yes, so we have to put it as an item on an agenda to say we're calling for a special election that the governor's office has signed off on there? Because by that time, we're looking at probably we're into February, and then 2.5 months later is the May election, and I'm wondering if the governor's office is going to go in and say, by every time everything's done, you're 60 days from the election.
Right,
there.
even if the 180 days were less than 30 days from the election.
Right.
So you find yourself in, I don't want to say limbo, but you find yourself in a weird gap space where the law has certain requirements, but doesn't always make sense in terms of, can't we just wait a month? I can't give you that opinion that you can wait a month, but obviously common sense would say, well, why not?
Yeah, because...
Let me look at the agenda you have real quick while you're clarifying your point.
Because by the time the governor's office gets in and begins looking at that particular request, and I think we're all in agreement, because I believe the people should have the choice in who sits up here. There, I'm just running scenarios there. I think it's like January 15 of this coming year is when filing begins for the May election there, and what if it gets back and they deny it after February 26th there, and filing has closed for the regular election there?
I would think that if you are making every effort on your end to meet these legal requirements and the governor's office delays it for whatever reason or doesn't get an answer back to you in time, that you can say, well, we've tried to comply with this statute, we've done everything we can to comply, and if there was ever a problem with someone was upset that you didn't meet the technical requirements, you can say, well, we did everything we could to meet those requirements. I do think that based on the agenda item you have today, that we could act to declare an emergency, to petition the governor for a special election, because the agenda item does speak to consideration to appoint or call a special election. And the provision of the elections code we're dealing with is special elections in cases of an emergency. So I think your agenda item does allow us to, at this meeting, take that action to get the ball moving if that's what the board's choice is.
So we'd be probably legally covered if it all goes the wrong way and we don't get a response back from the governor's office past April 11th, which is the 180th day there, and filing has closed and the election's in less than 30 days. Then we've got a seat that was never, no one ran for or whatever.
I would say if we were put in that position by the governor's office, that you would have done everything you can to meet the legal requirements, and at some point that's out of your hands. It's his discretion, not yours, once you've made that petition.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So how long would it take legal counsel to put together this petition?
Give me 20 minutes, it can be done.
Okay. And that being said, I understand Mr. Overfelt's point about the possible time delay, but we've called special meetings for much less, for someone who needed to be hired or some positions that needed to be filled. So really, legal counsel's ability to put together its petition is one thing. The board's ability to come back in a week or whatever and not have to wait till December expedites the process, right?
Certainly.
And to that, Mr. Gabriel, I'm just worried about the governor's timeline. I know we can call any time there and come together. I'm just worried about the governor's office because of the holidays and all that by the time we get it sent up there. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
And once the petition is submitted, that enables the act, right? We have requested of the governor. Whether or not the governor takes action, That's on the governor.
That's correct. And the governor's office has staff that will work this up, and keep in mind, it's a declared emergency of the San Felipe Del Rio CISD as a governmental entity. I imagine they would deal with it with all due speed.
Mr. Chavita?
You know, the way we're handling this situation, I doubt it very seriously that anybody wants to be elected or even nominated, or because in the past we've always appointed somebody until Mr. Garabedian brought it up that it was which is, to me, it's all right. At the time, he mentioned that he had put in petition at the time that his letter, which I didn't even remember that he wanted to be appointed. And it was all right, and now it's not. But then, that being said, I think we handled it to where, you know, some of the people that were interested in being nominated, they don't want to be part of it. And it's a sad situation because here we're fighting them on something that it's been done in the past. And now we're still, you know, the law says that we have to do it within 180 days, and now we want to change it. So I don't know. And if we want to have an election between now and 180 days, you know, who wants to spend money, you know, between now and whenever we want to have it before April? So all of a sudden now it becomes a problem. Maybe we should have done something at the time. But anyway, and I'm for it. Either we're going to do one thing or another. And like he was saying, let's have him write something up, and within next week, or you know, have another meeting and petition the governor, and let's get with it.
And I am willing
for one,
to.
have always stated that for a reason there's supposed to be 7 in the council. If it's not 7, it should be 5. So there's got to be a reason for it, and we don't want to go into that detail. So I think we ought to do something.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mesa?
With all the issues that we have discussed this year, like rezoning and newcomer academy, we do have candidates out there that want to be taking part in this process.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
So if that appears to be the direction of the board, there to petition the governor there, would that be something that we need to go into closed session to counsel with you about and then come out later on that agenda item that's after closed session there, or can that be discussed openly, or?
We discuss it openly.
That's pretty much and then if we wanted to vote on it later tonight, Mr. Hoffer could, because I know you want to get back to San Antonio.
Oh,
Oh, we can
I'm
also
here as
vote
long
on
as
it
you need
now.
me to be here, but
We could also vote on it now.
you could vote on it. You can vote declaring an emergency and directing legal counsel to prepare a petition. I will step out and find a computer, or a printer rather. I will draft the petition based on what we have in our files, and then bring it back to you. You all can sign it if it so passes, and we'll get it off and moving with the governor's office.
Let's get with it.
Okay.
Do it.
Since this is a discussion, can it be turned into an action right now, or do we move the item up from closed?
Move the item up for closed.
Move the item up for closed. Are we
From
all,
after.
right. So you want to take the vote now? Is that the wishes of the board?
Yes.
Okay. I say also. So
Can I provide the motion?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
please
all right.
do.
Don't leave us sitting here.
Please
Ms.
do.
Dr.
We
Rios.
want to get this right.
Ma'am,
Yes,
I
sir.
think the appropriate thing to do, and council could direct us otherwise, is to bring up agenda item 17A, because by
Right.
Mr. Overfelt's motion, we're not on 17A.
Right, I have to read that. Are we all in agreement that we would move 17A to right now? Okay, 17A. Consideration to appoint or call special election to fill vacancy on the board. And Mr. Hoffer was getting ready to share the recommendation with us.
Give me 1 second. Okay. So the motion would be to declare an emergency due to the vacancy on the board and the requirement to fill the term within 180 days, to request a petition to the governor to authorize a special election on a non-uniform date.
You need to repeat that so they can.
Someone can, okay, a motion?
It's Betty writing it. Well, she's going to
Okay,
listen to the
I'll go
tape.
real slow.
Okay, Amy.
Okay, somebody write it word for
Okay.
word.
Motion was to declare an emergency.
It's a motion of the board to declare an emergency due to the vacancy on the board with the resignation of Dr. Keys and the requirement to fill the seat within 180 days. And because there's not a uniform election between now and 180 days, to petition the governor for a special election on a non-uniform date.
So does that serve as a recommendation?
I was thinking the same thing.
You can say so moved if you wanted.
Well,
Or you could have-
Can somebody read it back first?
Sure,
Make we
please.
have it correct. I can't see it.
Shorthand, so it's a motion to declare emergency election on the board due to Dr. Key's vacancy. Requirement to fill seat of 180 days, no uniform election, petition the government on a non-uniform date. And that's my shorthand.
Petition the governor, that's correct.
Petition the governor.
Okay, we've heard the motion.
So moved. Second.
First by Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Overfelt. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? It's unanimous. Sir,
All
you
right,
have
I'll
some
go
work
get
to do.
drafting. If someone could show me to a printer, I'll connect up.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming, Joe. All right, now, let's go back to where we left off. I believe it was 7A.
Construction.
A, that would be Facilities and Construction, Mr. Israel Carrera. Thank you for your patience, sir.
Good afternoon, Board President, Superintendent Dr. Rios, board members. I'd like to share a construction update with you. See if the slideshow will.
All this fancy equipment and it doesn't work.
Okay, the first thing I'd like to share is a renovation of building I and J of the Blended Academy. Renovation of I and J Blended Academy. I provided proposed schedule of the Blended Academy project. Hopefully we'll award a contract today, November 16, 2015. Negotiate and sign a contract November 23rd, 2015. Receive bonds and permit December 4th. Begin renovations of Building I December 7th. Begin renovations of J June 5th. Complete Building I in 210 days, July 3rd, 2016. Complete renovations and occupy August 15th, 2016, and then close out documents October 1st, 2016. Early College High School, we're at the beginning stages. Proposed schedule for Early College High School is the schematic design review meeting, November 18th, 2015. Design development review meeting, December 9th, 2015. Construction document plan review, January 13th, 2015. Bid and negotiations plan available to bidders, January 20th, 2016. Pre-proposed conference, 2 p.m., January 27th, 2016. Proposal due date, 2 p.m., February 10th, 2016. Recommendations to the board, February 15th, 2016, and notice of award, February 16th, 2016. Notice to proceed, March 1st, 2016. Begin or construction administration, March 7th. Substantial completion, August 5th, 2016. And then 11th month walkthrough, July 7th, 2017. then a 23-month walkthrough July 6, 2018. Career and Techno Educational Center under construction. On these pictures, I'll review those. On the top left-hand corner, that is a section they're starting the steel and the brick on Section A that they just poured the concrete slab. And then the middle picture's another photo of that. Top three photos. And then the lower left-hand corner, they poured that Section B last week, and that's water just to slow down the drying of the concrete. And then in the middle section will be Section C that will be poured hopefully this week, weather permitting. And then Section D will be there where that tractor's at, or that blade. Student Activity Center under construction. Again, I'll review the photos. Up on the top left-hand corner is a photo of the bottom portion. They're getting close to putting up the drywall, hanging drywall. The middle photo is, of course, the main section with the windows. The one to the right is the upper level, and they should be finished that whole section with drywall. Then the bottom left is the addition to the auditorium in the back where we'll have dressing rooms and student restrooms. Then the middle is a picture of one of the offices that are just about completed of drywall. And then on the lower right is where our elevator and our power source will be going into. And that is it, if you have any questions.
Any questions? None? Thank you.
Looking good.
It does look good, thank you. All right. Go to consent agenda, number 8. We have multiple items under the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull any of the items from the agenda, consent agenda?
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
just clarification on one.
Okay.
F4, consideration approved purchase order over $25,000 to Century Security for $131,000 plus dollars for the fire alarms.
Mr. Carrera? Unless Dr. Rios can answer.
I just want to know if that was already, that's out of the budgeted amount for what we were doing for improvements.
No, sir.
For the fire alarms, or where it was coming from.
No, sir. We've also included that in the amendment that Ms. Valdez has to do to make this happen. Approximately a year and a half ago, when Century Security finished the first major improvement, this was identified as something that was held over for when we could budget it. At this point, we not only believe we can do it, but probably that it's necessary. We had waited. There was a small need to evacuate. It wasn't a big fire or anything, but still a need to evacuate, and the alarms wouldn't work at all. At that point, I directed Ms. Valdez to look for the money and Mr. Israel Carrera to retrieve prior proposals for it. There were 3 proposals. Just for the record, we did take the least expensive one that would get us into a safer situation.
You said that Ms. Valdez will have to amend there, so have we?
No, I'm sorry.
The money's already.
The money's there.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question too. On the proposal, it states that price does not include the duct detectors in AC units greater than 2,000 CFMS. Do we anticipate that we're going to encounter those units?
That was one of the questions I asked, and the person that represented them said he didn't go through those and check every one of them. So those are the things that I don't have a confirmation that I asked Mr. Sheedy to. I don't know why he didn't do it. He had access to it, but my directive was to make sure that it includes everything that we need to pass fire code inspection. That was my directive.
Go ahead.
Sorry, and there's other, again, the proposal was the smallest amount, and what we can afford now, but in the preparation for the summer budget, we'll again get another proposal to see how much more we can augment, but we believe that this will get us to where we're safe. Not that we were in any imminent danger either, I want to make that clear. But we'll continue to work with Century Security to address any additional improvements to the system. Because we wouldn't be 100%. There's a whole lot of other safety measures that can be implemented and that have been discussed.
So if they did find these AC units greater than 2,000 CFMS, I don't even know what that stands for, it would be brought back?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you. Any other items? No? All right. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Garavitian, second by Ms. Haynes. All in favor? I'm sorry. I was reading the next section. All right. Ms. Haynes, would you like to acknowledge the names of those who have donated?
Yes, ma'am. Castro Enterprises, $2,125, the Blended Academy. Chick-fil-A Del Rio, $361.10 to Buena Vista Elementary. Also Chick-fil-A again, $786.71 to Buena Vista Elementary. Stan and Nana Harrison, $20 to Buena Vista Elementary. Susan Morgan Wasabi, $20 to Buena Vista Elementary. Del Rio Ford Lincoln has donated $1,125 to the Del Rio High School basketball, Del Rio High School cheerleaders, Del Rio High School football, Del Rio High School boys soccer, Del Rio High School girls soccer, and Del Rio High School softball. The Tennis Booster Club, $255.50, Del Rio High School school tennis. Valverde Home Nurses, $300, Del Rio High School. CHB Food Company, $410, Del Rio Middle School Queens Palm Team. Chick-fil-A has also donated $439.01 to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary, $288.31 to Garfield Elementary, $223.94 to Lamar Elementary. San Felipe Lions Club, $200 to Lamar Elementary. Amistad National Park Service Group, cameras valued at $400 to Lamar Elementary. Chick-fil-A Del Rio meals for students valued at $2,885 to Lamar Elementary. The Del Rio Rotary Club school supplies valued at $200 to Lamar Elementary. San Felipe Lions Club dictionaries valued at $600 to Lamar Elementary. Valverde Masonic Lodge for a Fantastic Teeth Fan Club program, dental prevention kits valued about $2,435 to elementary campuses first grade. Thank you for all your donations.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Okay, we can move on to 10B. Consideration to approve the first reading of Policy Update 102 affecting local policies CDA, DBB, DEA, DHE, FNC, and FO. Ms. Hernandez.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, I will be presenting part of Update 102, which addresses recent changes to the Texas Administrative Code. Local policies included this presentation of the update address several topics such as investments, compensation plans, medical examination and communicable diseases, employee standards of conduct, including searches, and alcohol drug testing, and student discipline. Update 102 includes the following as noted on the TASB Localized Policy Manual, Update 102, 22 legal policy additions, revisions, or deletions, and 10 local policy additions, revisions, or deletions. As a result of this month's review by the District Policy Review Committee, 6 local policies are being recommended for consideration and approval. CDA local, other revenues and investments. DBB local, which is employment requirements and restrictions, medical examinations, and communicable diseases. DEA local, compensation and benefits, compensation plans. DHE local, employee standards of conduct, searches, and alcohol drug testing. FNC local, which is a recommendation to delete this policy. And FO local, which is student discipline.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe I'm misreading it. In the packet,
Second.
DEAA, but I don't see that we're...
DEAA was part of the second reading.
Want to clarify, ma'am?
Yes.
So last meeting we had, we reviewed some of the policies under update 102. These remaining policies were held over because the policy committee had questions. So we're taking 102 in two parts. One second reading, which is the one that you questioned right now, and the rest of these are coming for the first reading because they were held over. The next agenda item addresses just localized policies that are not part of the update.
Okay. But what's in the packet is actually combined. I think that's what... Oh, no. I got it. Thank you. I did that again. All right. Proceed, ma'am.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? I think we're ready for the recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of local policies CDA, DBB, DEA, DHE, FNC, and FO, and implement additions, revisions, or deletions of language in these policies as recommended in the TASB Policy Service Update 102 and by the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board Policy Review Committee as presented.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Mesa, seconded by Mr. Overfelt. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Let's move on to C, which is consideration to approve the first reading of localized updates to policies DEC, FEE, FFG, DIA, FB, FFH. Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you, ma'am. The consideration for this group of policies is the first reading of localized policies which are not connected with Policy Update 102, but they are to policies DEC local, FEE local, FFG exhibit, DIA local, FB local, and FFH local. Local policies included in this presentation of localized policies address several topics such as increasing the limit of transfer days an employee may donate from his or her leave bank, addition of administrative procedures which grants a parent's request for their child to leave campus during his or her lunchtime to attend a worship service, changes to policy contact person for addressing questions or procedures for reporting child abuse and neglect, and changes to the policy contact person for reporting issues concerning equal opportunity and Title IX. So as a result of this month's review by the District's Board Policy Committee, 6 local policies are being recommended for consideration and approval. DEC local, which is compensation and benefits, leaves and absences. FEE local, attendance, open, closed campus. FFG local, student welfare, child abuse and neglect, and again, this one is a change of the name of the contact person. And the following 3, DIA local, employee welfare, freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. FB Local, Equal Education Opportunity, and FFH Local, Student Welfare, Freedom from Discrimination, Harassment, and Retaliation. Also is the name change for the contact person.
Any questions? No? Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of DEC Local, FEE Local, FFG Exhibit, DIA Local, FB Local, and FFH Local, and implement additions, revisions, or deletions of language in these policies as recommended by the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board Policy Review Committee as presented.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Chavita first, Mr. Mesa second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Opposed? Mr. Overfelt. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Raise your hand. Okay. Next on the agenda is consideration to nominate 4 candidates for the placement on the Val Verde Appraisal District Board of Directors ballot. We have Ms. Yanakani on, but I think Dr. Rios has something to let us know.
Yes, ma'am. Unfortunately, we erred in how we listed the agenda. We merely repeated what was on there last month because we already have the 4 candidates, and today you all would have voted for it. I visited with Joe Hoffer since he was here, and we can amend it, but just to be clear, and because we're going to have another meeting in December before the date that these items are due, we would just prefer to table this, assuming we're going to meet again in the second Monday in December. That way the language is correct.
Because the deadline's the 15th, right?
Yes, we'd still be within the deadline. We'd rather just be clear, so we apologize and would ask that you table it till the next meeting so that we can provide the appropriate wording.
The board in favor? Yes? Okay. Tabled to December meeting. Thank you. Okay. 11 is curriculum and instruction. A is consideration to approve articulation agreement between Southwest Texas Junior College and San Felipe Del Rio CISD and career and technical education project Lead the Way, engineering courses. Mr. Roger Gonzalez. Good evening.
Good evening, President Martinez Lozano, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Southwest Texas Junior College has created an engineering pathway where Del Rio High School students will be provided articulated college credit to students who successfully pass nationally recognized Project Lead the Way engineering courses and enroll at Southwest Texas Junior College. Attached on separate cover is the articulation agreement identifying Project Lead the Way engineering courses and end of course exam scores needed to receive credit at Southwest Texas Junior College towards an Associates of Science in Engineering Science degree. These courses will provide students with the opportunity of earning college credit and articulate with participating engineering programs at major universities around the state. Helping coordinate the articulation agreement and here this evening is Oscar Gaitan, the STEM outreach coordinator for the junior college.
Do you have any questions? Nope. Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent of schools to sign the articulation agreement with Southwest Texas Junior College as presented.
We have heard the recommendation.
I so move to accept.
Mr. Garabedian, second by Mr. Overfelt. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, facilities and operations. A, consideration to approve the contract over $5,000 with Amistad Consulting Services in the amount not to exceed $8,750 for professional engineering services to perform a site analysis. Mr. Guerrero.
Madam President, Superintendent Dr. Rios. Bring before you consider Amistad Consulting Services Incorporated for professional engineering service to perform a site analysis for the location of a proposed school.
Any discussion, board members? Recommendation, sir?
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves the superintendent to sign the contract for services with Amistad Consulting Services Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $8,750.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Mesa. All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Second item is the consideration to award RFCP number 16-04, renovation of buildings I and J, Blended Academy, freshman campus paving repairs and renovations for San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Mr. Carrera.
Yes, ma'am. If I can correct part of this, on the blended, it's only the Blended Academy. There will not be any freshman campus paving repairs or renovations. So if I may read and consider award to RFCP number 16-04, renovations of buildings I and J, Blended Academy for San Felipe Del Rio CISD.
Would you reread that recommendation? I'm sorry.
Sure. Consider to award the RFCP number 16-04, renovations of buildings I and J, Blended Academy for San Felipe Del Rio CISD.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation.
No, ma'am. He was just introducing the topic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, any discussion? Yes, sir.
How many bidders?
One.
Oh, wow. Now the recommendation, sorry.
Yes, ma'am. It is a recommendation of the administration that San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board of Trustees authorize the administration to negotiate a contract with Frontera Construction of Del Rio, Texas for the renovations of building I and J of the Blended Academy project in accordance with RFCP number 16-04 and a base bid in the amount not to exceed $1,676,283.14.
Now we've heard the recommendation, approved. Motion by Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Mesa. All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you, sir. Under Business and Finance, A, consideration to approve memorandum of agreement with TMC Migrant Seasonal Head Start. Ms. Yanakani and Dr. Aguirre.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Rios, this memorandum of agreement with TMC is a continuation of having a working relationship with this program. The working relationship includes coordination between the migrant program and the special ed program. There's no financial resources aligned, but it is, again, processes that we already have in place. So I've asked Dr. Aguirre to join me if there's any questions on the special ed side.
I just have one question. Under the purpose of the agreement, it's between San Felipe, us, CISD, Del Rio, and Valverde County? That's a little misleading. It's really just the district.
It's just the district,
with
ma'am.
TMC, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry. We
Could that be
made several
corrected?
additions, and we'll have that corrected and
Or
leave that
maybe
out.
it meant to say that we are in
In
Del Rio,
Valverde County.
In Valverde County?
Yes.
Okay. That's making sure it wasn't the city of or Valverde County. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. Yes, sir. Mr. Mesa.
So this agreement stands for 2 years?
Yes, sir, this agreement is for 2 years. However, they said they will have a new process in place where they'll send a letter annually to the superintendent.
recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the memorandum of agreement with TMC Migrant Seasonal Head Start.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Chavira. All in favor? Okay. Opposed? That's 5-4. Opposed?
Yeah. Stepped out.
Mr. Garabedian, because he stepped out. Motion carries, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't vote on it on that.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Human Resources and Student Services. A, consideration to approve the employee job description and evaluation forms for the following departments: Emergency Operations Department. There are several, and then Assessment and Accountability, and I'm sure that Dr. McNamara will go through each individual one.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, President Lozano, Dr. Rios, and members of the school board. As has been the tradition in the HR department, we've been analyzing and reviewing with our supervisors our job descriptions. Tonight, we bring before you the Emergency Operations Department that have been reviewed by John Sheedy and Chief Maldonado, and to include the Director of Emergency Operations. In your packet that was sent out on Friday, you received each of the job description evaluations with their corrections. Under a separate cover, under the Superintendent Board Communique, you received a revision to the Director of Emergency Operations to include reports to the Chief of Police instead of the Superintendent. So we made that correction, provided that to you in the Board Communique. Additionally, we have the Textbook Safety Clerk and the Textbook Safety Assistant Clerk, and that comprises our Emergency Operations Department, followed by Michelle Smith's recommendation for the Assessment Accountability Department. The Director of Assessment Accountability, the Data Quality Coordinator, the System-Wide Testing Curriculum Coordinator, the Assessment Accountability Secretary, the Attendance and Discipline Specialist, followed by the Database Manager for Skyward Specialist and the Data Processing Specialist. All of these have been reviewed and submitted by Michelle Smith for your consideration this evening.
Ready for the recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the employee job description and evaluation forms outlined above be approved as presented this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Chavira. Any discussion?
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. I don't know if it's really for discussion. One thing that struck me on the updated Director of Emergency Operations is there are those two positions, right? A clerk that report to the director.
Yes.
The form,
Is there a mistake
it
there?
says no direct supervisory responsibilities. Isn't that a contradiction? I mean, on the job description for the Director of Emergency Operations, the last page says no direct supervisory responsibilities, but the clerk, textbook safety clerk, textbook safety assistant
That would be correct.
report to the director, right?
Yes, that would be correct. I can make that change. On number 31, sir? Yes. I'll be happy to make that change.
Thanks for catching
Thank you.
that. All right. Any further questions? All in favor? Unanimous? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is consideration to approve 2 library aide positions. Dr. McNamara?
Yes, President Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. Dr. Rios previously mentioned and addressed Mr. Mesa's inquiry about the library aide positions. We are requesting permission to convert a current vacancy secondary teacher, ZZPOS VAC 684, to 2 paraprofessional pay grade 2 positions, 187 days. That's parallel to all our other library aides. The funding source would be 174 state comp. Additionally, I'd like to inform the board that these would be at Dr. Fermin Calderon and Lamar Elementary. We have been
recruiting, posting and recruiting, for over a year in one of the positions, and since September in the other one. Presently, we've had one out-of-town applicant that is certified in that area, but currently holds a position in a different district. She would like to come to Del Rio possibly at the end of her contract, if the jobs are still available, when she would become available for hire. Secondly, we have several local individuals, teachers, that are pursuing that degree, but have not obtained that degree at this particular time. So to assist our libraries at those two campuses, that's the reason why we're requesting this additional personnel. However, this will in no way deter us from continuing to recruit and keep those jobs active and posted.
Go ahead.
Dr. Rios?
I just want to remind the board that at the previous meeting, we also hired a library supervisor who would help oversee these aides. And I could be wrong, it might have been at the October meeting, but I know that we
Right.
brought Ms. Gurley, I think,
Yes, sir. Jacqueline Gurley.
okay, to help supervise instructional aides who are running the libraries. So they'll have support, and we'll continue to look for qualified applicants.
So those two librarian positions will still stay on the web as being advertised?
Absolutely.
Those individuals who are in the process of trying to
Yes.
certify out, or that individual who, if we don't hire, is still willing to come from out of town?
Yes, sir.
And, I'm sorry, on the position that we're converting, that secondary teacher, is that a leftover that we don't need, or do we anticipate down the line that we might need it, and then,
No, she'll verify for us, sir, but these are excess positions that aren't filled and we don't intend to fill.
Right, that is correct. Dr. McNamara and Ms. Cox went to each campus to review all of their positions, and that was identified as an excess position.
Okay, okay, thank you.
I have a question, too. So we hire the two library aide positions, and then we're lucky and we actually hire two librarians. What happens to these positions? We'll certainly look into that and probably transition them into a current vacancy that we have.
Do we currently have vacancies?
We do.
Okay.
We do.
All right, so we could easily absorb these
Yes,
two
ma'am, because it's a 187 pay grade, too. We have quite a few positions that we could definitely transition them into.
Perfect.
So they'll be told upon hiring, if we hire them, that this might not be around in a year.
Absolutely.
Possibility you will be moved to
Yes.
something else.
Absolutely. That'll be part of their acceptance letter, yes.
The recommendation, please?
Yes, ma'am. It is a recommendation of the administration that the two library aide positions be approved as presented this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Garabedian, second by Mr. Chavita.
No, Mr.
Did I
Overfield.
say Garabedian again? I apologize. I know you're not Garabedian. Okay, all in favor? 4. Against? 2. 4 to 2, motion carries. Thank you very much. Nothing under technology services. We are ready for closed session. It is now November the 16th at 8:58 p.m. The Board of Trustees will recess this open session and convene in a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. We're able to do so under Sections 551.071 through 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, 551.084. Specifically pursuant to 551.074, the discussion of personnel or to hear complaints against personnel,
1, discussion of personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, including retirements, resignations, and reassignments. 2, discussion of salary adjustments to include, but not limited to, the following justifications: service credit, master's degree, and stipends. 3, the discussion of federal and state program director. 4, the discussion of construction manager. And we've already addressed B. All final votes, actions, or decisions will be taken in open session. We are now in closed session. Thank you. It is now November 16th at 10:06 p.m. The Board of Trustees will now reconvene in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. No action was taken in closed session. Now that we've reconvened in open session, the board may vote upon and or take action as to any or all of the items considered under closed session. All right, we're going to begin with B. We had already addressed A. Consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. Dr. McNamara.
President Lozano, members of the board, Dr. Rios. It is a recommendation of the administration that Mr. Adan Cortez, CTE Family and Consumer Science teacher at Del Rio Freshman Campus, be approved as presented this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. Motion by Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Overfelt. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Second is consideration to approve salary adjustments to include the following: justifications, service credit, master's degree, stipends. Dr. McNamara.
President Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. It is a recommendation of administration that the salary adjustments be approved as presented in closed executive session this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. We have a motion. Mr. Chavita, second by myself. Oh, Mr. Overfelt. All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. D is the consideration to approve the federal and state program director.
President Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. It is a recommendation of the administration that Dr. Oscar Garcia be recommended for the federal and state program director, be approved as presented this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Overfelt first, second Mr. Chavita. All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. E, consideration to approve the construction manager.
Dr. Rios will make this presentation.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, at this time, it's my recommendation that that we table it and bring a recommendation in 2 weeks. I believe more discussion is needed.
In 2 weeks, sir? Is that when we're anticipating having our next meeting?
I apologize. At the next December meeting, when we decide to have it in the next agenda item.
All right, thank you for clarifying. Okay. 18, superintendent's report, curriculum workshop.
Yes, ma'am. I asked Ms. Falcon to reach out to board members to see if we could determine a date for the curriculum workshop. At this time, there are some items that I'd like to present at the December meeting, but would like the opportunity to first discuss at length in a workshop setting. One of them has to do with the curriculum repository that we would like to purchase using IMA funds, and I believe that a demonstration and the opportunity to ask questions would be appropriate. The other item is the formation of an elementary campus at Laughlin Air Force Base. We've been working with the federal government as well as the leadership at Laughlin, and we believe that we are very close to arriving at a possibility, and I would also like to discuss that at the same workshop so that we can amply discuss what the benefits are as well as what the costs to the district would be. I believe that, Betty, will you share with us the date that proved to be most effective for everyone?
I have to go back, I'm sorry. Not the Wednesday, it was the first, Tuesday the first.
December 1st. So, unless I'm directed otherwise, before the day that we have to post, we would post for a December 1st workshop. And then the other item that I have, ma'am, is the regular school board meeting that's scheduled for the third Monday in December. That is a holiday. And we wanted the board, we wanted to advise the board that unless otherwise directed, we would call that meeting for the second Monday of December, which in this case is the 14th. That would also put us in time to nominate the appraisal district representatives. So I think we talked about it earlier, and I think we're in agreement. If we're not, I'm sure that y'all will let me know before the posting date.
On the one that's December 1st, that's the workshop that we want to do?
The workshop, yes, sir.
And posting has to take place 72 hours before, correct?
For a workshop, just to be in compliance with Open Meetings Act, unless there's going to be board action, but we've always done it, so.
It's advisable to post, so if it's going to be the first, post it by the end of the week, since we're going to, or y'all are going to.
Holiday.
I mean, it's pretty simple.
Okay, by the end of this week.
Yeah, post it by the end of this week.
So that we don't have to come in next week to post it. Otherwise, I'd have the cabinet here next week, which I'm sure they'll be here at one time or the other.
And I believe there's been a curriculum workshop in the last year, so it'd be just a matter of taking that same draft and changing the date, probably.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
And we're okay, I know that's not a vote, but we're okay with the second Monday in December for the regular board meeting. I think we've talked about that, so. Thank you, that's it at this time, Madam President.
Thank you for that report, Dr. Rios. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Overfelt, second by Mr. Chavita. All in favor? Unanimous? Good night. Thank you very much.